In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. These words hold a truth that might shatter everything you believed about your childhood. What if the very things that made you feel broken as a child were actually the first signs that your soul was waking up? What if your sensitivity wasn't weakness, but a form of sacred perception? What if the loneliness, the questions, the feeling of never quite fitting in, what if all of it was preparation, not punishment? Most people spend their entire lives trying to heal from a childhood they think damaged them. They carry their past like a burden, wondering what went wrong, why they couldn't just be normal like everyone else. They blame their parents, their circumstances, their genetics. They spend thousands of dollars in therapy trying to fix what they believe is fundamentally broken. But there's another possibility, one that changes everything. Your childhood didn't break you. It initiated you. Those moments when you felt too much, said too much, questioned too much, they weren't signs of dysfunction. They were signs of awakening. Think about it. While other children seemed content to simply exist, to accept the world as presented to them, something in you was already reaching beyond the surface. You were like a radio receiver tuned to frequencies others couldn't hear. And yes, this made you different. Yes, this made things harder. But difference is not deficiency. The psyche is by nature religious. It seeks wholeness the way a plant seeks light. And some souls begin this search early, long before they have words for what they're seeking. If you were one of these children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You felt different in ways you couldn't explain. You carried questions nobody else seemed to ask. You sensed things that others missed entirely. This wasn't imagination. This was perception. You were tuned to a frequency most people never access. And yes, it made everything harder. But it also made you real in a way that many people never become. Here's what most people don't understand. Consciousness doesn't develop uniformly across all souls. Some remain asleep their entire lives, moving through the world on autopilot, never questioning, never truly seeing. Others wake gradually in midlife, when crisis forces them to look deeper. But a rare few, perhaps you begin waking in childhood. Not by choice. Not because you wanted to be special, but because something in your particular soul constellation demanded it. This early awakening comes with a price. Childhood is supposed to be a time of innocence, of play, of simple joy. But for the awakening child, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes the first stage of a hero's journey that most people don't begin until they're 40 or 50 years old. You started at 7, or 5, or even younger. Let me take you back. You're 7 years old, walking into a room where your parents are talking. They're smiling, their voices are light, but you feel it immediately, the tension thick as humidity before a storm. Something is wrong. Something unspoken hangs in the air, and you absorb it like a sponge absorbs water. Other children bounce through life. They laugh, they play, they move on. But you felt everything. A harsh word from a teacher didn't just sting for a moment. It lived in you. You replayed it at night, felt it in your chest like a weight pressing down. When your parents argued even behind closed doors, even when they thought you were asleep, you felt the vibration of their discord in your bones. This is what the depth psychologists call emotional permeability. Before your ego boundaries fully formed, before you learned where you ended and others began, you remained open to the collective emotional field. You were what some call an empath, though that word doesn't quite capture it. You weren't just sensing emotions, you were absorbing them, processing them, carrying them. The family system often assigns one child to be the emotional truth teller, the designated feeler. You became the antenna for everything the family couldn't acknowledge. Their anxiety became your nightmares. Their repressed anger became your inexplicable rage. Their unspoken sadness became your tears with no name. And here's the crucial part that most people miss. This happened because you were capable of it. Not every child can carry this. Not every psyche is structured to hold and process the emotional truth of an entire system. You could do it because your soul was already oriented toward depth, toward truth, toward what lies beneath the surface. This wasn't a defect. This was an undeveloped gift. You were perceiving what Jung called the shadow, everything people hide even from themselves. While other children naturally closed their borders, yours remained open. And this created suffering. Yes, there is no coming to consciousness without pain, but it also created extraordinary empathic intelligence. You learned to read the emotional truth beneath the social performance. You learned to feel what needed to be witnessed. Your tears as a child were a form of prayer. You were feeling what others had numbed. And the world needs people who can do this, who can feel the truth beneath the lies we tell ourselves. You cried when you saw a dead bird on the sidewalk. You couldn't watch certain movies because the sadness stayed with you for days. You felt the mood of a room the moment you entered, like stepping into water and knowing instantly whether it's warm or cold. Everyone told you to toughen up, to stop being so sensitive. But sensitivity is not weakness. It's a different kind of strength. A musician with perfect pitch hears every note, every slight variation. To someone without that gift, the song sounds fine either way. You were born with perfect pitch for emotion, for energy, for the undercurrents of human experience. This is the sensitivity that prophets, artists, and healers carry. This is access to what lies beneath the surface of ordinary life. But why do we go to church if no one believes what they say? Why do people smile when they're sad? What happens when we die? Where were we before we were born? Who decided these rules? You asked questions that made adults uncomfortable, questions that punctured the agreed-upon reality. Other children wanted to know how things worked. You wanted to know why things were the way they were. This wasn't rebellion. This was genuine wondering. You looked at the world, and it didn't quite add up. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Your questions emerged from something deep within what Jung called the self, the totality of your being seeking expression. Your questions threatened the collective mask, the agreed-upon pretense that everything makes sense. So you learned to stay quiet, or you were labeled difficult. But your questions were actually a form of divine discontent. The soul asking, "Is this all there is? Isn't there something more?" Remember what happened when you asked these questions. The room went quiet. Adults exchanged glances. Someone changed the subject. Or worse, they gave you an answer that clearly didn't satisfy even them. Because that's just how it is. Because I said so. You'll understand when you're older. But you didn't stop wondering. You just stopped asking out loud. Your questions went underground into your journals, into your late-night thoughts, into the private space of your own mind, where no one could silence them. This is what philosophers and mystics do. They maintain their questioning even when the culture demands certainty. You were doing this at 8 years old. These weren't childish questions. These were the oldest questions, the deepest questions. Questions about meaning, purpose, mortality, truth. Questions that most adults avoid their entire lives. Questions that, when taken seriously, change everything. You spent a lot of time alone, and you liked it. You could play with other children, laugh and run and be part of the group. But something in you also craved solitude. You needed it the way you needed sleep. Too much time with people drained you. Too much noise, too much surface chatter, and you started to feel lost, scattered. In solitude, something emerged. A stillness, a presence, a sense that you were more than just your name and your body. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakes? You were practicing what mystics and contemplatives have done for thousands of years. Be still and know. You were finding in the silence what the noise could never give you, a connection to something larger, something true. This wasn't withdrawal. This was discovery. You were learning to listen to the voice that only speaks when everything else gets quiet. You watched adults lie and wondered why nobody else seemed to notice. Not big dramatic lies, small ones, social ones. Your mother smiling at a neighbor she'd just complained about. Your father pretending to like his boss. Your teacher praising a student she clearly couldn't stand. You saw the mask, you saw the face beneath it, and it bothered you deeply. Everyone was performing, pretending, playing a role, and you couldn't quite do it. You couldn't fake the smile, couldn't make the small talk that felt empty, couldn't put on the mask as easily as everyone else seemed to. This is what happens when a child perceives the shadow, the hidden parts, the denied feelings, the contradictions between who we claim to be and who we actually are. Most children accept the social performance as real. You saw through it. And this made you uncomfortable to be around, because people don't like having their masks noticed. The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life. Your inability to pretend wasn't rudeness, it was integrity. You were refusing to participate in the collective agreement to ignore what's actually happening. And while this made you an outsider, it also kept you real. Here's what was really happening. You were perceiving the gap between persona and shadow. The persona is the mask we wear for the world, the polite face, the social role, the acceptable version of ourselves. The shadow is everything we've rejected, denied, pushed down. Most people invest tremendous energy in maintaining this separation. They believe they are their persona. They've forgotten the shadow even exists. But you could see both. You could see the smiling face and the hidden resentment beneath it, the confident exterior and the secret insecurity, the righteous judgment and the denied hypocrisy. This is why you felt so isolated. You were living in a world where everyone agreed to pretend, and you couldn't forget what was real. This is perhaps the strangest sign. A longing for something you couldn't name. A feeling that you were far from home, even when sitting in your own house. Not homesickness for a place. Homesickness for a state of being. Some children feel this as a sadness. Others feel it as a restlessness. You might have looked at the stars and felt it. You might have sat by water and felt it wash over you. This ache, this strange nostalgia for something you've never experienced, at least not in this life. Our hearts are restless until they rest in you, wrote Augustine. The awakened soul remembers something. Not consciously, not in words, but somewhere deep down it remembers that it is not merely this body, this name, this story. It remembers that it came from something infinite, something that this ordinary life only hints at. This longing is the soul's memory of wholeness. Before the ego separated from the self, before consciousness created the illusion of separateness, there was unity. And part of you never forgot. This homesickness is what drives all spiritual seeking. It's the feeling that keeps you searching, keeps you questioning, keeps you unable to settle for the surface answers. Do you see it now? These 5 signs weren't random quirks. They were a pattern, a sacred pattern. Feeling deeply gave you access to the shadow realm, the hidden emotional truth that others deny. Questioning everything was the self-demanding authenticity. Needing solitude created space for inner work, for listening to what can't be heard in the noise. Seeing through masks gave you the ability to perceive unconscious material, and cosmic homesickness kept you oriented towards something larger, something true. These are the marks of what Jung called early individuation, the psyche's drive toward wholeness, beginning not in midlife as it does for most, but in childhood. Most people don't begin this journey until crisis forces them. But your journey began early. Perhaps trauma cracked you open. Perhaps grace chose you. Perhaps your soul was simply impatient. Many are called, but few answer. You answered before you even knew what you were saying yes to. Your childhood was an initiation into mystery. You were being prepared for something shaped by forces you couldn't see. And now looking back, you can recognize it. The lonely child, the sensitive child, the questioning child. That child was already awake, already seeing, already on the path. If this is resonating deep in your chest, if you're recognizing yourself in these signs, I invite you to pause and let that recognition settle. You weren't broken. You were becoming, and that changes everything. But recognition is only the beginning, because most of us, after a childhood like this, learned to build a mask. We learned to perform normalcy. We created what Jung called a persona, an acceptable front to show the world. The sensitive child learned to pretend they weren't affected. The questioner learned to stay quiet. The solitary one forced themselves into social situations. The truth seer learned to smile and nod. The homesick soul tried to settle to belong, to stop longing. And for a while, maybe it worked. Maybe you convinced yourself you were fine. Maybe you built a life that looked good from the outside, a career that impressed people, relationships that seemed stable, a home, a routine, a carefully constructed identity. But the persona is not the self. It's a mask. And eventually the mask cracks. This is what some call the dark night of the soul, the breakdown that is actually a breakthrough, the moment when you can no longer sustain the false self and everything you've built on pretense begins to collapse. The job that never felt right suddenly becomes unbearable. The relationship built on who you pretended to be starts falling apart. The depression or anxiety you've been managing suddenly overwhelms your defenses. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. This is the pattern. Death before rebirth. Collapse before reconstruction. There is no birth of consciousness without pain. When the persona shatters, you come face to face with the shadow, all the parts of yourself you rejected in order to be acceptable. The anger you weren't allowed to feel. The desires you were taught to be ashamed of. The power you learned to hide. The needs you pretended you didn't have. This is terrifying work, because the shadow contains everything you've spent your life running from. But it's also liberating work, because the shadow is 90% gold. It contains your life force, your creativity, your authentic power. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Shadow work is not about indulging every impulse or justifying destructive behavior. It's about bringing unconscious material into consciousness where it can be integrated. It's about recognizing that what you've rejected doesn't disappear. It goes underground. It operates from the darkness, influencing your choices, sabotaging your intentions, erupting in unexpected ways. The process begins with projection. Whatever you can't accept in yourself, you project onto others. You hate in them what you deny in yourself. You're triggered by their behavior because it mirrors what you've repressed. This is why your strongest reactions to other people are actually messages from your own unconscious. Shadow work means withdrawing these projections. It means recognizing that what disturbs you out there is actually something unintegrated in here. It means sitting with the uncomfortable emotions you've spent a lifetime avoiding. It means dialoguing with the parts of yourself you've disowned, asking them what they need, what they're trying to tell you. And most importantly, it means returning to the child. You were the sensitive, questioning, solitary, truth-seeing, homesick child, and saying, "I'm sorry I abandoned you. I'm sorry I tried to make you normal. I see you now. I honor you now. You were right all along." This journey toward wholeness, Jung called it, individuation, is the work of a lifetime. It's not about perfection. It's not about transcending your humanity. It's about becoming undivided. It's about integrating all the parts, the light and the dark, the strength and the vulnerability, the mask and the face beneath. The individuated person holds contradictions without splitting. They relate to the unconscious without being possessed by it. They serve something beyond their small ego. They accept suffering as a teacher rather than an enemy. They live from the center, not the periphery. And here's what changes when you commit to this path. You trust your sensitivity instead of apologizing for it. You ask hard questions without fearing rejection. You protect your solitude as sacred time. You speak truth even when your voice shakes. You follow your cosmic longing toward home. This doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you stop fighting who you are. Your relationships deepen or fall away. Both are good. Relationships built on your false self cannot survive your awakening, and that's not a loss. It's a clearing. It makes space for connections built on truth, where you can be fully seen and still fully loved. Your work aligns with purpose, or you find the courage to change it. You realize that spending 40 hours a week doing something that deadens your soul is not a sustainable strategy. You begin asking, what wants to be born through me? What is my unique contribution? What would I do if I weren't afraid? You sleep better because there's less shadow to avoid. When you've made peace with your darkness, when you've integrated rather than repressed, the unconscious doesn't need to scream at you through insomnia and nightmares. The psyche settles when it's being heard. Synchronicities increase because you're listening to guidance from a deeper source. When you're living from the ego alone, trying to force outcomes through willpower, life feels like pushing a boulder uphill. But when you align with the self, that organizing principle deeper than ego doors, open, connections happen. The right people appear at the right time. Not because you're special, but because you're finally in harmony with the deeper pattern. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is the promise. Not that you'll become someone new, but that you'll become undivided. Not that you'll transcend your wounds, but that you'll transform them into medicine. Your sensitivity becomes empathic wisdom. You can sit with others in their pain without needing to fix them, without being overwhelmed by them. Your questioning becomes discernment. You can see through surface explanations to deeper truth, and you can guide others to do the same. Your solitude becomes inner richness. You're never lonely because you found the companion within the self that has been there all along, waiting to be recognized. Your truth-seeing becomes clarity. You can name what others can't see, what others won't speak, what others fear to say. Not with cruelty, but with compassion. Not to wound, but to heal. And your homesickness becomes the spiritual hunger that drives your growth. That longing never fully goes away. It shouldn't. It's the compass pointing home, Dorthokam. So let me bring this full circle. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. The 5 signs from childhood, the deep feeling, the impossible questions, the need for solitude, the inability to pretend, the nameless longing, these weren't curses. They were callings. Each one was a message from the deeper self, trying to get your attention, trying to guide you toward wholeness, even when the world was pushing you toward conformity. You weren't broken. You were being prepared. Your childhood was an initiation you didn't know you were undergoing. The loneliness was necessary. It taught you to turn inward, to find resources within, rather than depending entirely on external validation. The pain was formative. It cracked you open so that light could get in, so that consciousness could penetrate the shell of ordinary existence. The feeling of never fitting in was actually a sign that you were meant for something beyond fitting in. God, the self, the sacred center of your being, it was speaking through you all along. Your sensitivity was divine sensitivity, the ability to perceive what others had numbed themselves to. Your questions were divine questions, the soul's refusal to accept easy lies. Your truth-seeing was divine sight, the capacity to see through illusion to reality. Your homesickness was the soul remembering its origin and calling you back to wholeness. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. This is your purpose. Not to be normal, not to be comfortable, but to be awake, to be conscious, to be whole. And here's what I need you to understand. This path you're on, it matters. Not just for you, but for everyone you encounter. When you do the work of integrating your shadow, you're not just healing yourself. You're reducing the unconscious shadow in the collective field. When you live authentically, rather than from a false persona, you give others permission to do the same. When you refuse to pretend, you create cracks in the collective pretense through which truth can emerge. Every person who wakes up makes it easier for the next person to wake up. Every individual who becomes conscious adds to the consciousness of the whole human race. This is why your journey matters beyond your personal healing. This is why the struggle is worthwhile even when it's hard. You're not just saving yourself. You're participating in the evolution of human consciousness itself. And here's the most important thing, you're not alone. There is a community of awakened souls who felt what you felt, saw what you saw, asked what you asked. We recognize each other. We know the signs. We understand the loneliness of waking up in a sleeping world. We've walked the difficult path of shadow integration. We've shattered our personas and rebuilt from truth. And we're here doing the work, making the darkness conscious, becoming who we were always meant to be. The child you were sees the person you're becoming, and they are proud. You didn't abandon them forever. You came back. You remembered. You awakened. That sensitive child who felt too much, that curious child who asked too many questions, that solitary child who needed quiet, that perceptive child who saw through lies, that longing child who never quite felt at home. They're still in you, but now they're integrated, honored, given voice. Now their gifts are your gifts. Their vision is your vision. Their truth is your truth. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. This is the moment of awakening. Not a single event, but a continuous choice. Every day you choose consciousness over unconsciousness. Every day you choose truth over comfortable lies. Every day you choose wholeness over fragmentation. This is the path of individuation, and it's the most important work any human being can do. Welcome home, awakened soul. The journey continues from here, but now you walk it with eyes open, with heart aware, with the knowledge that you were never broken. You were always becoming, and what you're becoming is magnificent. Not perfect, not transcendent, but real. Fully, authentically, undeniably real. If this message has touched something true, and you share it with someone who needs to hear it, comment below and let me know which of the 5 signs resonated most powerfully with you. Was it the deep feeling, the questioning, the need for solitude, the truth-seeing, or the cosmic homesickness? Your voice matters. Your story matters. By sharing it, you help other awakening souls recognize themselves. Subscribe for more content that honors the depth of your journey. Content that treats your consciousness with the respect it deserves. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. The choice is yours. The path is clear. The work is sacred. And you have everything you need already within you. The child who carried those 5 signs knew the truth. They just didn't have the support or language to honor it. Now you do. Now you can give them what they needed all along. Your recognition, your validation, your commitment to living the truth they saw. Now go, live awake, and know that with every step you take toward wholeness, you're lighting the way for those who will follow.